So in this video, I'm going to show you how to make a scatter chart or a scatter plot in Microsoft Excel for a Mac. I think a Mac is harder to use Microsoft Excel in, but it's what a lot of students have, so that's what we're going to go with. Okay, so what I've already done is inputted the X and Y variables that I want to plot. This is frequently used for financial data or scientific data, but I was interested in the number of bunnies that I spotted and the temperature when I spotted them. So this is in here, and if you have questions on how to just get this data into Microsoft Excel, you can add a question or a comment in the comment box, and I'll do a video on that. Students often ask me, does it matter where I start inputting data? No, it doesn't. Start wherever you want. We can always fix it. So what you do here is you have your data and you select everything, and then you go to charts, scatter, mark scatter, and this will give you your chart. And you have your number of bunnies spotted, and up here is the number of bunnies, and this axis down here, the x-axis, is the temperature. And that's what we want, because you want the independent variable on the x-axis and the dependent variable on the y. This isn't super helpful as shown, so we're going to clean it up a little. First thing we're going to do is go up here to chart quick layouts and click on the first one, and that will give us the option to add an axis title. So I'm going to type those in. It can be a little bit tricky, have patience. So you click into the box. Here is number of bunnies. Here is temperature, Fahrenheit. Okay, looking better. This isn't really number of bunnies. This is number of bunnies spotted versus temperature. So to make that clear, I'm just going to add versus temperature. And I'm also going to make this a little bit bigger just so we can see it better. Okay, better. Now the problem with this is I don't really need a temperature range from 0 to 100 because I didn't see any bunnies at such a low temperature. I really only saw them above 50 degrees. So I'm going to change my axis here so that it only shows 50 degrees and above. So I do that by clicking on it, and then I right click and I go to Format Axis. And then in the Format Axis box, I change the minimum from 0 to 50, and I hit OK. And that will give me a much better looking axis. All right, now what we really want to see is there a correlation? And this data is kind of jumpy, so it's hard to see just by itself. So what we do is we add a trend line. So to do that, we click into the data, click into the chart. Sorry, you got to click on actually one of the little boxes that represents the data, and you go to Add Trend Line. Now, the type, linear, because we believe this is a linear relationship between bunnies and temperature. If we thought it was logarithmic or exponential, something like that, we could choose that, but this is pretty simple, so it's linear. And then options, this is important. We want to display equation on chart, and we want to display the R squared on the chart. The equation on the chart tells us how many bunnies appear or disappear with changes in temperature. And the R square tells us how much of the variability in the number of bunnies spotted changes with temperature. So in this case, let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. I wouldn't necessarily have it this big on your chart homework, but anyway, in this case, we can see that with a 1 degree change in temperature, you would expect to see about 0.4 fewer bunnies. So yes, as the temperature increases, the number of bunnies seen decreases because they're smart and they're not going out in the hot. This here, the R squared, roughly means it accounts for the amount of variability seen in your data. So in this case, with 62 63% of the data on bunnies is accounted for by temperature. So seeing the R-squared is very important on a lot of charts. They want to know how strong the correlation is. The higher the R-squared, the closer it is to 1. 1 is the maximum value. The closer it is to a complete correlation. The lower the R-squared, the closer it is to 0, the less of the correlation. So that is it. And I think in a future video, I will show you one with a smaller correlation.